From Rajdeep School, Kodinar, and today I am going to start a very interesting topic that is related to your life also. So can you guess the topic? Which topic I am going to take? I am going to take a very interesting topic that is known as life processes. Everyone knows that life processes are essential for everybody. For example, respiration, excretion, and circulation. These are essential life processes. Suppose if you are not able to breathe in, properly, what happened? After some time, you will die. For example, if excretion or excretory system is not working properly, so what would happen? Then toxic substances start accumulating in your body, and finally your body will get poisonous substances, and in this condition also you will not able to survive. So what should be the definition for life processes? First take out your notebook and take your pen. I am going to write the life process definition and you have to write in your notebook right now. Are essential life, these are essential processes for the survival of an, these are essential processes, as you know, for the survival of any organism. For example, respiration, excretion, and circulation. Then we have to decide what is the criteria for a living organism. If we are seeing that somebody is running on the road, somebody is walking, writing anything, it means the movement is happening. So if the organism is moving, then you will know that the organism is alive. Okay, so first criteria for the living organism is movement. Okay, so here we have to write the criteria for a living creature. Movement and movement. If we are awakened and we are running, we are writing, it means movement is happening. But what about at night? At that time we are sleeping only, and even then few life processes are going on continuously in our body. It means we are alive, but we cannot see these movements. And these movements which we cannot see are known as molecular movement. Okay, so instead of movement only, we can write here the molecular movement. And the next criteria for the life can be growth. If you are seeing that the plant is growing, it means the plant is alive. If the child is growing, it means the child is alive. Another criteria for the life is growth. So that's it. This is the criteria for a living being. We can also understand by taking other examples also. For example, if we are breathing, the air goes into our lungs through the trachea, and through the windpipe it goes into lungs. But what about every cell? Because for the respiration, every cell requires oxygen. So who carries the oxygen? So again, there should be a system to carry the oxygen throughout the body and it reaches to every cell of the body, and that is the circulatory system. Again, we can think about our food. When we take in our food, where it goes? It goes into our stomach, then small intestine, and how? Because every cell requires food. So who takes this food? Who carries this food? Again, circulatory system is also very, very important. So we can know the importance of respiration, we can know the importance of circulation, and excretion we have already discussed, that waste material should be excreted out from our body. So these are very important life processes. One by one we will discuss about the different life processes. The very first and essential life process is nutrition. What do you understand by nutrition? Nutrition is nothing but intake of food, providing energy and utilizing it for different life activities. So you note down the definition of nutrition. Intake of food, for what? For obtaining energy. Obtaining energy and utilizing it for different metabolic activities. There is a two mode of nutrition, as you already know in the previous classes, which we have already explained in Rajdeep school very well. I know that. Okay, so first I am going to write about the mode of nutrition. Tell me first, what should be the one? Autotrophic. Autotrophic nutrition. And another one, can you tell me? Heterotrophic. First, understand the meaning of this word, autotrophic. So I am writing here auto plus trophic. Autotrophic word is made up of two words, that is auto and trophic. Auto means, auto means self and trophic means nourishment. So the meaning of auto is self and the meaning of trophic is nourishment. The complete definition for autotrophic nutrition is the organisms which synthesize their own food are known as autotrophic or autotrophs, and this kind of nutrition is known as autotrophic nutrition. I am going to write down the definition of autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophs, the organisms which synthesize autotrophs. And then example, as you know, the autotrophs are plants. Green plants are autotrophs, and some blue-green algae are also autotrophs. Autotrophic organisms synthesizing their food by a process which is known as photosynthesis. So you know the definition of photosynthesis very well. I am going to tell you about the steps involved in the photosynthesis. First of all, I am going to tell you the definition of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process by which green plants prepare their food with the help of carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight, and this whole process occurs in the green part of the plant, that is known as chlorophyll. So here no need to write this definition. I am going to write only the equation for the photosynthesis. That is important for this 10th standard. Carbon dioxide, first thing is required carbon dioxide, and another thing what is required here? Water. Okay, and very essential, that is sunlight. And where it happens? In chlorophyll, that is the green pigment of the plant. And what is the food? Food is carbohydrates. 6 plus oxygen. Okay. This is the unbalanced equation. If you want to balance this, I will tell you in chapter 1, that is chemical reaction. In this chapter, I will tell you how to balance the equation. Here you can write, if I want to write this balanced equation, then 6CO2 plus 12H2O, it gives C6H12O6, 6O2 plus 6H2O, water molecules. This is the food, and the name of this compound is carbon dioxide. This is water, and this is glucose. Because plant also require energy, and they are getting energy by this food, and the name of this food is glucose, and the byproducts are oxygen, which is releases during the photosynthesis, and it is taken by all the living organisms like us. We are taking in this oxygen, and then water also, because excess water is also released from the aerial parts of the plant, that is leaf, and this process is known as transpiration. So now the steps involved in the photosynthesis. Write down. Write down steps of photosynthesis. In first step, chlorophyll is a green pigment which is present in the leaf of the plant, absorbs the solar energy. Okay, that is the heat energy. So first step will be that only, absorption of heat energy by chlorophyll. What is essential for the photosynthesis? Again, sun is essential for the photosynthesis, and the plant taking energy from the sun only, so heat energy. And the second energy, heat energy converts into chemical energy. Second step is that, and these are very important. These are very important steps of photosynthesis. Always this kind of question used in asked in the exam paper. Okay, so heat energy converts into chemical energy by the splitting of water. H2O splits into, okay. If you want to balance it, you can balance it. 2 you have to put here and 2 you have to put in the product, which is hydrogen gas. Okay, first, second and the third step, this is the last step, reduction of carbon dioxide into carbohydrates. These all 3 steps which is involved in the process of photosynthesis. Now we will discuss about another important and interesting topic, that is stomata. Stomata, first of all, I am going to explain with the help of this structure. This is stomatal pore, and chloroplast is also present. This leaf, okay, this is open stomata, this is a stomatal pore, and these are guard cells. What is the requirement of this stomata? Because the raw material which is essential for the photosynthesis is carbon dioxide also. It means every plant requires carbon dioxide, and from where carbon dioxide enters into the plant? From this aperture, from this pore, and this pore is known as stomatal pore, which is present in the lower epidermis of the leaf. So stomata, they open stomata, there is an open stomata, and stomata can be closed also. Because every time carbon dioxide is not required, means if the carbon dioxide photosynthesis is going on, then only the carbon dioxide is required for the synthesis of glucose. But if the food is not required and there is no requirement of photosynthesis, then the stomatal pore will be closed. So you will see in your textbook 2 types of stomatas are present. One is open stomata and other one is closed stomata. Okay, so what is the function? If somebody asks you that what is the function of stomata, the number 1 function is think, exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. So how many gases are going to exchange? Number 1, carbon dioxide it takes in, and it releases oxygen. So that is why this is called the exchange of gases. For example, CO2 and O2. And number 2, another function is the transpiration. If the water is excess in the plant, transpiration occurs, and transpiration also helps in the suction of water from the roots to the leaves. So 2 functions are there for the stomata, that is transpiration. So 2 things are going on, exchange of gases and transpiration. This is about stomata. Now, I am going to discuss about the heterotrophic nutrition. The organisms which depends on others for the food. The organism which depends on others for the food are known as heterotrophic organisms, and they are also called as heterotrophs. For example, human beings, for example, other animals, for example, microscopic organisms like amoeba, paramecium, all these are heterotrophic nutrition. They shows the exhibits. Now, nutrition in amoeba. Amoeba, all you know that it is a very small, and you are not able to see this from your naked eye. You have to take microscope, then only you can see the amoeba. Amoeba do not have any organ system like us. We have digestive system, we have respiratory system, we have excretory system, but for amoeba it is not required, because it can directly transport its material into the environment, and directly, this is a unicellular and directly contact with the outer environment. So there is no requirement of any organ system. So nutrition, it only when any food particles, suppose this is a food particle. If food particle comes in contact with the amoeba, it opens pseudopodia. It opens its pseudopodia, and pseudopodia, this is a pseudopodia. It takes the whole food into it with the help of pseudopodia, and it forms a food vacuole around this food. This is food vacuole, and then it digested. So this is the digestion of amoeba. This is very simple. Now we are going to learn and see about the nutrition in human beings. very interesting topic and very important to learn about this topic, because it is not only important for your board exam, many questions are asked from this topic, digestion and digestion in human being and alimentary canal and different portions like stomach, the function of stomach, all these type of questions can be asked from this. So listen and see carefully. First of all, what is required for releasing energy? The food is required. Food is the essential thing. By taking food, you are getting carbohydrate, you are getting protein, fats by taking food only. So first of all, food is required, and then we are taking in food in our mouth. So I am going to explain you with the help of diagram. So I am going to draw the diagram, then only I will explain you what kind of nutrition occurs in human beings. Organism. This is the stomach. This is C-shaped structure. One structure is present here. This is the mouth, and we are going to label it here mouth, and this is the buccal cavity. And this is a long structure. This is known as the esophagus. And it opens into a C-shaped structure, and this is the large organ that is known as stomach. And then after that it opens into the small intestine, which is highly coiled structure. You can see here. This is large intestine. And this is the anus. This is appendix. Appendix are of no use nowadays. It is a vestigial organ also. It can be removed if it is not required or it has some problem, then it is removed from our body. This is a gland that is known as liver, and this is pancreas. So this is the structure of human digestive tract or human alimentary canal. It is also known as, first of all, food enters where? Food enters into our mouth. Then our teeth grind it and chew it and breaks down the food particles into smaller substances. So mouth, the chewing of food particles occur by the teeth, and then the mouth has some glands that is known as salivary gland. Salivary gland secretes a watery substance a watery fluid that is known as saliva. So saliva is also secreted from the salivary glands. And what is the role of the saliva? Saliva mixes the food properly and it converts into the absorbable form, because our gut is very smooth and it is very delicate, so it has to be wetted. The food particle has to be wetted, and for this process the saliva is required. Means it helps in the process of swallowing the food in. Then after that, what is present in the saliva? A very important biological catalyst is present in the saliva. The name of that catalyst or enzyme is amylase. And what is the requirement of this amylase enzyme? Actually, amylase enzyme breaks down the carbohydrates into simple sugar. Because we are taking food as a whole, we are taking carbohydrates as a whole, we are taking proteins as a whole, but it has to be digested and it has to be converted into the digestive forms and absorbable forms, so that digestive tract can absorb it properly. So amylase breaks down the carbohydrates into simple sugar. The important points I am going to write here, all the points cannot be covered because you have to take the help of your textbook. Amylase present in saliva, the function of its breaking down of carbs. And from where you are getting carbohydrates? You are getting carbohydrate from wheat, from rice, from maize, from barley. All these materials have carbohydrates. Now the food goes through the esophagus, and the lining of the whole alimentary canal possess the muscles which contracts rhythmically for the forward movement of the food, because food cannot move by its own. There should be some movement by the muscles. So muscles which move, which transfer the food forwards, and this rhythmic movement is known as peristaltic movement. By peristaltic movement, food goes forward in the alimentary canal, and then food passes from the esophagus and then it comes into the stomach. That is a very large organ, as you can see, the stomach. And stomach is very important for the digestion also, because it releases and it secretes three very important things that is known as, I am going to tell you. Number one is hydrochloric acid, that is also we can write as HCl. Second is enzyme, that is known as pepsin, and third one is mucus. Now I will tell you the importance of this hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid is important to create acidic medium in the stomach, because acidic medium is required for the action of the enzyme that is known as pepsin. It means pepsin acts only in the acidic medium, not in the alkaline medium, not in the neutral medium. So that's why release of hydrochloric acid is essential, and this is releases by the stomach only. So gastric glands are present which releases hydrochloric acid. And then another one is, this is also biological catalyst which is known as pepsin. And pepsin, the function of pepsin is breaks down the protein into the simple substances. So, and you can memorize the name of pepsin with the help of P. P for pepsin and P for protein. Means for the protein digestion, pepsin is required. It digests the protein. Why the mucus secretion is there? Mucus secretion is there by which we can save our internal wall of the alimentary canal or lining of the alimentary canal with the strong action of hydrochloric acid. As you know, hydrochloric acid is very, very strong. So mucus is present for the protection purpose, for the protection of your alimentary canal. So this kind of digestion occurs in the stomach. And then one thing I want to tell you in short question, it can be asked that why the person suffers with acidity. Means if any person suffers with acidity, it means the hydrochloric acid secretion is very high in them. That is why we have to take at the time of base to neutralize that antacid we are taking at the time of acidity to neutralize the reaction and to overcome from the problem of acidity. So now you know the importance in secretion of the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Now I am going to explain about small intestine. A small intestine, the name is small but it is very big. It is approximately 6 or 7 meters, and it is highly coiled structure. It present in the abdomen, and the stomach opens into this small intestine, and here small intestine receives some secretion from the pancreas and from the liver. First of all, I will discuss about what kind of secretion it receives from the liver. Bile juice. Bile juice is secreted from the liver, and it goes into the small intestine, because bile juice is important because for the action of pancreatic juices. Again, I am telling you that pancreas also secretes some pancreatic juices and releases it into the small intestine, and for activation of this pancreatic enzymes and pancreatic juice, the medium should be again alkaline. Medium should not be acidic. So bile juice creates an alkaline medium in the small intestine. So number one, creates alkaline medium, for the activation of pancreatic enzymes. Number one. And number two, it converts large globules fat into small globules. Means the conversion of large fat globules into the small fat globules, because fat is a macromolecule and it is again also very complex, so we have to convert it into the simple fat globules with the help of bile juice and bile salts. This is the function of bile juice, which is secreted from the liver, and bile juice is stored in a gallbladder. Now liver and then pancreas. Pancreas secretes two enzymes, that is trypsin and the lipase. These two enzymes breaks down, the trypsin breaks down the protein and into the simple substances, and lipase breakdowns the fat molecules into the fatty acids and glycerol. So small intestine is a site of complete digestion, because here the fat converts into fatty acid and glycerol and trypsin converts protein into amino acids and carbohydrates into simple sugar. The small intestine, the villi, finger-like structures are present in the internal lining of the small intestine, and it increases the surface area for the absorption of these nutrients, which is the digested food, digesting into the simple sugar, amino acids and glycerol. And large of blood vessels or blood supply is around the villi for the take up of these nutrients into the blood, and with the help of the blood it goes into all the cells and all parts of the body. So this is the complete site of digestion, small intestine, and then the food goes into the large intestine. The absorption of water takes place here, and the nutrients and absorption of water takes place here in the large intestine, and after that the waste material has to be excreted out with the help of anus. So this is the complete digestive system, and you will learn about this. After some time I will again come and start your topic. So till then, bye.